Hi everyone, welcome to Compliance Panel's live webinar on proper documentation of risk management for compliance with ISO 14971. My name is Dilip Sharma and I'm going to be your host today on behalf of the Compliance Panel team. I would like to thank you for being part of this event. Today's webinar will be presented by Edwin Beltz. During his 20-year career in medical devices, Mr. Beltz has held a number of quality and regulatory affairs positions. Mr. Beltz is ASQ certified as quality engineer, quality auditor, and as manager of quality/organizational improvement. He's also regulatory affairs certified through the Regulatory Affairs Professional Society and obtained BS and master's degrees from University of Cincinnati. Recently, Mr. Beltz served as a U.S. industry co-chair of the Association for Advancement of Medical Instrumentation Committee, QMWG04, on application of risk management to medical device, participated in the development of ISO 14997 risk management standard for medical devices. Mr. Beltz is a current member of the U.S. National Committee on Medical Device Risk Management. Mr. Beltz has presented training courses for the American Association of Medical Instrumentation in the area of risk management and quality systems, and presented courses at the University of Southern California and the University of Washington in their regulatory affairs graduate programs. He has also authored several articles on medical device risk management. Currently, Mr. Beltz is the principal consultant at Biolinks Consulting, LLC, in the area of medical device quality, regulatory, product liability, and risk management. We are honored to have such a distinguished person such as Edwin Beltz with us to present this webinar. And before we begin, I'd like to inform you that a program that's been outlined for today's event. The webinar is for 90 minutes duration. And firstly, Mr. Beltz will take you through the webinar, highlighting the areas that will be covered, and he would then share with you his presentation. I'd like to inform you that all participants, once part of the teleconference, have been placed on mute and will remain so until the Q&A session begins towards the end of the webinar. It is for the purpose of avoiding discontinuity and for allowing the presenter to speak clearly so that everyone present can take maximum benefit from this webinar. We also request all to hold back your questions until the Q&A window begins. 10 minutes of time will be allotted for the Q&A, during which your questions will be answered. If for any reason you get logged out of the training session or the teleconference, please follow the same procedure to join in again. Now that we are all ready to start, I request Mr. Beltz to take it from here. Ed?
Thank you very much, and welcome to everyone to today's session on proper documentation of risk management for compliance with ISO 14971. I know risk analysis, at least, has been around for a long time in the medical device industry, and companies have some conventions about how they're documenting things. However, the 14971 standard does have some specific requirements that we're going to discuss today. And in light of more and more standards for products and product-specific standards starting to require risk management as part of their device files, their documentation, we're going to spend some time examining exactly what the standard does say, and some examples of ways in which you can document risk management so that your risk management file does meet the requirement of the standard. In this way, you can meet the requirements of other standards as well, and also the regulatory agencies and notified bodies. So we're going to explore the risk management tool set. We're going to choose the right risk management tools. We're going to discuss what tools should be used during each phase of design. We're going to talk about the human factors regulatory requirement, and this is something the FDA especially is emphasizing now. And there's some standards being developed in this area. And we're going to talk about documenting standards compliance, and we're going to talk about developing an FMEA, which is a tool that is often used, that meets the requirements. In the presentation, we're also going to explore the correct approach to risk management and how to maintain the documentation during the entire life cycle of a medical device, because again, this is the requirement of ISO 14971, is that we maintain our risk management process throughout the device life cycle, and that includes to the disposal of the last device in the field. We're going to address some of the misconceptions in the current approaches to risk management, because there are a few where people think they are meeting the requirements, but in fact there are some holes in their system. We're going to discuss those and some approaches to closing those holes. I've got a diagram here, and there's going to be a lot of diagrams in this presentation. This one is built on the risk management process diagram that comes from ISO 14971. If you have the standard, you'll notice the long light blue box down the middle, which contains what's called the risk management process: risk analysis, risk evaluation, risk control, overall residual risk evaluation, the risk management report, and production and post-production information. Now you'll notice there's some numbers right in front of each of those. That is actually the clause number from the risk management standard, ISO 14971. So you would find more detailed information on each of those boxes in those clauses of the standard. And you notice that starts at clause 4. There's actually some other clauses before that, of course. The first one is the clause 1, which describes the scope of the risk management standard, and that applies to all medical devices during their entire life cycle. So that's basically what clause 1 says. It also has one other statement that's kind of interesting. It says there is no such thing as a risk-free medical device. That's an important statement. What it's telling us is that for every device, we must have a risk management process, and we must have the documentation in the file. Clause 2 contains the definitions for the risk management standard, and there's a rather lengthy list of definitions that you need to become familiar with. Among those are terms like risk analysis, risk evaluation, risk assessment. Risk assessment is the combination of those two, risk analysis and risk evaluation. Now, some companies have used those terms interchangeably, analysis and evaluation, and they really don't mean the same thing. Additionally, some companies are still using the old term hazard analysis, which went away with EN 1441 in 1994. EN 1441 was the old European standard for risk analysis. So the correct terminology is important as we communicate between ourselves, our notified bodies, our regulators, what it is exactly we're talking about. So you should become familiar with those definitions. Risk control is defined. Residual risk evaluation is defined, and those there's a number of terms in that list that you need to become familiar with. Now that's clause 2. Clause 3 covers the management responsibilities for risk management, and I've shown some of those in the brown boxes that kind of wrap around this diagram. Things like actual 3.2 of defined management responsibilities, 3.3, which is the trained personnel and resources that management is required to provide. Product review and process reviews that management is responsible for providing. Some of those occur as part of quality system management reviews. Others are included during design reviews as we develop a new product, and also post-production reviews of products. There's another item in Clause 3.2, which is policy for risk acceptability. The management is responsible for providing that policy that the project team uses to determine what the risk acceptability level is for each product or product family. So those are kind of the major sections. And then there's one other in Clause 3 that is really, in my estimation, the beginning of the risk management process for each individual device, but it's not included in the ISO diagram. That's risk management planning. I've shown that in the top green box. Risk management planning is that activity where we develop a plan as we're developing a new product or product family on how we're going to implement risk management during the development of that product. And risk management planning includes how we're going to integrate our risk management process within the development and the life cycle of that entire device. There's also a long green box over on the left, which is risk communication. Now, the standard does have a single line included there, but I believe it's much larger than just that single line that's included, because risk management or risk communication is both an internal activity inside the company and an external activity. An external meaning communication with risk management information to our suppliers that are producing components and subassemblies for our products, or maybe in some cases we have contract manufacturers that are producing an entire device with us. It's important that we communicate the risk management results with those different organizations inside our company that are manufacturing the device, outside the company that are manufacturing components for our device, so that we do get the device correctly produced that has all the risk controls in place, and we have the risk reduced to the lowest possible level. The other external communication is communicating the risks for the use of the device to the user so that they are aware of the risk and they know what precautions they should take in the use of the product. Often we communicate those through warnings in the front of our user manuals, but also they're communicated in the instructions for use on the proper use of the product, so that we avoid errors in the use of the product which may expose the user to some risks. Okay, that covers the left side of the diagram. On the right, I've got a long, I'll call it pink box, which says it's the risk management file. That's the other thing that's listed in the management requirements. We must have provided a risk management file for our product. The risk management file has some very specific requirements, what needs to be contained there. Now, some of those requirements are listed in Clause 3.5. Others are listed in Clause 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Those requirements include that we have documented the risk management plan, which was developed in the risk management planning activity, and that risk management plan is filed in the risk management file. Now, risk management file is really a virtual file in many cases. We don't have necessarily a file drawer that contains a file folder that is titled risk management file that contains a lot of paper documents in it, although some companies do that, and that's one way of doing it. Another way might be putting a file folder in place which says risk management file, and then inside that document we would have an index which tells us all the documents that are supposed to be in that risk management file and then where they're located. And those could be in other file folders that could be in other locations. For instance, if our manufacturing facility is located in a different country even, there might be a document in there from the risk management activities that were conducted in development of the manufacturing process. And we would, of course, have to provide those documents to our regulators in the specified length of time, which is usually within 24 hours. So they must be accessible. That's one key to the risk management file. All the documents that are in that file must be accessible in a reasonable amount of time, and they must be accessible for the entire life of that product. So that's one thing. In the past, companies have developed their risk document